Today I want to talk about my autumn curriculum knitting edition, small needle colourwork edition. So to frame this idea, I saw a video of Shauna Rapari's that was about consumerism around autumn. She talks about how to enjoy autumn without consuming things. And one of her trends and videos that she had seen on TikTok was creating an autumn curriculum for yourself. So things you want to learn, resources you want to use to learn those things. And I really love that idea and I want to jump on it as well. I used to have TikTok 4 or 5 years ago, and then I realized it takes up too much screen time. It sucks me into it, and I don't want that to be a thing for me. So I deleted the app and I've never looked back. So I get my TikTok content through YouTube videos and Instagram reels. And I know that that ages me, that I'm aging myself, but that is what works for me. And I want to create an autumn curriculum around small needle colourwork knitting. And to do that, I have chosen a few different resources to learn from. Some resources some resources to take inspiration from, and also a few experiments that I want to try on the topic of colourwork knitting with small needle sizes. So when I talk about small needle sizes, it's my preferred needle size to knit between a 2.5mm and a 3.5mm. It feels best in my hands and I like the fabric the best, and whenever I use bigger needles I feel my hands cramping and it's not comfortable. So I want this autumn to be all about the colourwork socks, all about a colourwork scarf that I want to make for myself. I want to knit a keffiyeh for myself, and I want to try some different techniques to make this colourwork work for me. So in the curriculum I have a few main goals. So the goal with this autumn project of colourwork knitting is to be more comfortable and be more confident in colourwork knitting. I want to be able to follow fairly easy, maybe intermediate, easy, in between intermediate and easy colourwork patterns for small needle sizes. So colourwork sock, colourwork mitten. I want to be able to do a neater intarsia. So what I have done so far when I knit in intarsia, the last and the first stitch is just, it's not a smooth transition between the colours, so it's lumpy and it's not cute. I want that to be neater, and I want to have a more even tension with my colourwork knitting. And also I want to be better at finding the right fibre and the right yarn for the project I have in mind. Because these are the things that I have noticed in the last few years that I don't have enough knowledge or enough experience training with. It doesn't flow naturally in my fingers to do a neat intarsia transition or to keep a nice even tension. So those are my overarching goals for the autumn when it comes to my curriculum. The resources that I want to use to learn from when it comes to colourwork knitting is Roxanne Richardson's beautifully clear and, from what I've seen so far, very instructive YouTube videos about colourwork. So she has a playlist about colourwork, different sorts of colourwork, stranded, intarsia, duplicate stitches, and I want to deep dive into that because I did watch a few of the videos that I thought were a good beginning to go through the different parts of colourwork knitting that I struggle with myself. So I will be deep diving into that playlist. I want to sit down, take the time to watch her video and do the same, to try out different ways of holding the yarn. For example, now I hold my yarn, one yarn on the index finger and one on the middle finger in my left hand while I knit. When I knit with only one colour, it's only wrapped around my index finger. But is that the best way for me to have an even tension? I don't know. I haven't tried any other techniques to see the difference. So I want to take the time to watch her videos and figure things like that out. I want to knit some swatches, although I don't know that I want to knit swatches now that I say it, because swatch knitting, for the sake of knitting a swatch, when it's not a gauge swatch, because those I will do, because I have been burnt before, but to just knit a colourwork swatch to not do anything with, I don't think that would inspire me enough to actually do it. So I don't know if I'll just jump into a project immediately, maybe a smaller project, but a project nonetheless that I can actually see a use for later on, because I know myself, I need to feel that the thing I'm doing is meaningful. And I can feel myself getting more stuffy. I wonder why that is. It's almost like allergies are kicking in or something, but there shouldn't be anything that I'm allergic to. Unfortunately, there isn't a cat in the apartment just yet, so I don't know why I would be getting stuffy, because I don't feel sick. So that is the first video resource that I've been looking at, diving into. The other is also one of the reasons why sock knitting and colourwork knitting is at all on the radar for me at the moment, and that is Charlotte Stone from Stone Knits. Her patterns are so beautiful and they are so funny, and I would really love to be able to make some of them. And I think that she has a course, a video tutorial lesson on a website. I can't remember the name, but I see it because it's targeted to me quite often to do this colourwork sock knitting course, and I think it is a course that I would pay for, but I think it would be under €10, which might be worth it. I will do some digging and see if that is actually something that I want to spend money on, or if I can get the information for free on YouTube. I say for free because I still pay with my time, and I still pay with my attention, and I pay with my YouTube premium membership, so she will get paid for my view either way. So I will see, but Charlotte Stone's patterns and her techniques are something that does inspire me, and I wanted to learn from her. So whether I do it through her course or her content on social media and YouTube, I don't know yet, but she is one of the people that I expect to learn from this autumn. And on that note, one of the inspirations and learning materials is also her book Joyful Sock Knitting, if I'm not misquoting the title. I have reserved it at my local library, and if the person that uses it now returns it on time, it should be mine to borrow in a week or 10 days, which I think will be a great time. I love a good knitting book, and her socks are so visual that I really look forward to it, because I find sometimes that knitting books can be difficult because you can't see the textures, but in a colourwork knit project you don't have to see the texture, you just have to see the colour, because that's what you are aiming to achieve. So I think this is going to be amazing. I've seen some of the patterns already on Ravelry, and I saw that they were available in the book, and I was like, I want to look at all the patterns together. And then to wrap up this quite theory heavy part of the curriculum, I have a few experiments that I want to get around to as well. So I am fairly new to the world of colourwork knitting. I have done 2 sweaters in colourwork. Is it only 2? I think so. And I have done 1 pair of mittens that I did last year, and I am now working on a pair of socks for myself, for a Christmas pair of socks. And the experiments, they also tie back to the overarching goals of this curriculum or this autumn project, because for example, this is the shaft of my Royal Winter sock by Toby Beck. This is a free pattern on Ravelry, and I love that, and it's a very beautiful pattern. I can't believe that they gave it away for free, so big shout out to them. And I'm knitting this in the Filcolana Aweta in 2 different colours, and I did meet gauge on a 2.5mm needle for this before blocking. Now I have washed it. I haven't tried pulling it over my foot just yet because my feet hurt. They do not want to be pulled through a tight tube of something that might be too small. But I will get around to trying it in the next few days, because I want to see if the gauge, if it shrank at all, because if it did, I have to size up. And that brings me to one of the goals. I want to compare how the Aweta washes and wears. So this yarn content is 80% merino wool and 20% nylon. I'm used to knitting socks on an 80% wool and 20% nylon. So does the merino shrink? It's superwash, I suppose. Hang on, let me double check that if it is. Yes, so 80% superwash merino and 20% nylon. And I'm used to knitting with as I said, wool and nylon blend, also superwash treated. And I want to see if this shrinks so that I know what gauge I can expect for my socks. I think it might have shrunk a bit. I knit this on a 72 stitch circumference, and I thought it was a bit tight. It was a bit tight getting it over the foot, getting over the heel before I blocked it, and now it might be too tight, and that's why I've cast off or placed the stitches on a cable so that I don't knit an entire sock and end up realizing too late that it is too small. So the first experiment is to see how this washes and wears. I've already washed it. I want to see the gauge, if that has changed, and I want to see how it wears over the next few months. As soon as I finish it, I want to wear it barefoot at home. I want to wear it on long days at work in my Birkenstock. I want to wear it in my winter boots to see if it chafes or pills or ends up becoming threadbare quicker than my standard sock yarn would. Because I never really have a problem with socks wearing out, because I have so many of them from my aunt and my great aunt who knit socks as well, and I guess my feet just don't eat socks, as I know many people experience their feet doing, if you understand how I mean. So that's the first experiment. I also want to experiment with re-knitting a pattern that I already did knit. Last year I knitted a pair of colourwork mittens with a lovely lemon pattern. They are from Knitting Lotta or Lotta Lundin Designs on Ravelry. She has an amazing assortment of mittens, some sock patterns with beautiful colour work, and they are really funny. She has different pictures of pets, and she has different artists and icons, and she has a lot of the big sports teams in Sweden. So Hammarby, for example, one of the big football teams in Stockholm, and AIK as well. She has specific socks, knit mittens for, and I found her on one of the yarn festivals last summer, and I rifled through her patterns and I found the juicy fruit lemon pattern, or juicy fruit mitten, and I knit them on a very thin, light fingering weight yarn, which was too thin. So it was a sock yarn, so 80% superwash wool and 20% nylon. And that means that although the mitten fits, it's not too large and it's not too small. I think I hit gauge fairly well, but the fibers, they don't really bloom as they would in a 100% non-superwash treated yarn, and they don't fill out the gaps, so they're not as warm as I want them to be. I realize that it's a thin yarn, so I can't expect it to be the most Arctic winter-proof mitten, but I finished the mittens and they are beautiful. I mean, they are bumpy, but they were my first small needle colour work, so that's to be expected. But they are not warm enough and I want to reknit them. So over the summer I went to Norway, I bought yarn. So you go to a country that is known for its yarn, and then you just happen to visit all of the yarn stores that you can find on your route, and you have a grand old time, and now you have yarn for all of the projects that you want to knit in the next few months. Amazing times. Anyway, so I want to reknit this pattern in the same colorway, so a white background and a yellow citrus pattern, and I want to compare the two. How do they compare? How does the gauge differ? How does the end result differ? Do I like one more than the other? Because I know that I will be happy with the second pair as well, and I can only be happier if it turns out to be warmer. And if it doesn't turn out to be warmer, I will knit a second pair of just plain mittens to go into the first pair to make them more windproof. So that is my second experiment. My third experiment has to do with my needles. So far I am a ride or die for DPNs. This is how I started knitting socks, and this is how I always knit socks. I do not like magic loop. I have never liked it, but I realized that that might be a me thing. I might not understand the pros and cons of magic loop. If I don't give it a proper chance, how can I say that I don't like it? What I can say is that I don't like it for bigger circumference needles, because with the bigger needles, I already have a cramped hold on the needles, and then trying to juggle the tension and not laddering when I go with the cable. I don't like that. I did that for the sleeves for my Gemma polo that I knit over the summer, and didn't like the experience, and I've spent now 2 sleeves worth of time doing this, and I can say I don't like it. But I can't say that I had the same feelings about a smaller needle size before I've tried that properly. So I did buy the Knit Pro circular needles in a 2.5mm needle, because I don't want to change any other variable than the fact that it's a double pointed needle versus a circular needle with magic loop. And that's a wooden needle, as is my DPN set. All of my DPNs, basically all of my needles are wooden, because I don't like the sound of metal needles. And I have the tiny circulars from Chowgu as well in a 2.5mm. And I did experiment with that a bit over the summer to check my gauge, and that gauge was quite a lot tighter than my gauge with this set with my DPNs. So I wonder how that changes, and if I have a tighter gauge but I get a smoother tension, it might be worth going up a needle size to have the same result, even though the circular needles are so far a pain in the and so forth, because the grip is just so tiny. With these, I have so much room to hold them. I have quite large hands. I am a large person, so I think that the tiny circulars are built for smaller people than me. So I think that the tiny circulars could also be a good thing to throw into this comparison. So DPNs, wooden DPNs versus wooden circular magic loop versus tiny metal circulars, all in the same needle size. I think that can be a fun experiment. And then I have one project slash experiment, because I wanted to knit a keffiyeh, so the traditional Palestinian scarf to represent the olive trees and to represent the trading routes and the fish nets that is also often used as a symbol for the Palestinian struggle. I found a beautiful yarn in Sandnes Garn factory outlet in Sandnes, and I thought this is going to be a really great keffiyeh for the Swedish weather. So what I plan to do, or plan to try, because I've never done this, so I don't know how it will work out. I can't guarantee that it will actually be a good thing, that the end result will be good. So I wanted to knit the square white with the thick black borders or stripes to represent the trading routes, and then I want to duplicate stitch the pattern of the olive branches and the fishing net in the middle. So the borders I will try to do in an intarsia, and that is where the Roxanne Richardson videos come in, because my intarsia transitions have not been neat. I want them to be neater, so I'm excited about that. And then trying to duplicate stitch, because I don't think I could make it look as clean and beautiful with just colourwork running behind, so the floats running behind. But I will see how I end up liking the result of what I do, the experiment. So that is another colourwork, two other colourwork techniques to try. And then I have another sock project that isn't quite as involved as this, because I think this will need some sort of a palette cleanser afterwards. After I finish these socks, I wanted to knit the Walk in the Park socks by Cool Stitches. I follow her on Instagram, and she posts people's projects all the time, and I saw someone uploading their Walk in the Park socks just recently, and it came back to me how much I love that pattern and how much I would love to wear it in my chunky boots over the next few months, just peeking out and looking fabulous. So that is my knitting curriculum for the autumn of 2025. Let me know if there are any important resources that I have missed. I know that there are, but since this is my first time doing this, I don't know what to look for. I don't know who is the main authority on this technique in this area is. Have I missed an important book? Have I missed an important YouTube creator? Or have I missed another important resource that you can point me towards? Please let me know. I want to learn more. This is just up my alley. I love learning new things, and I love having a plan to learn new things. It makes me motivated and it makes my brain do happy sounds. So thank you so much for watching today's video. If you liked the video, please remember to click the like button so that the algorithm knows that you liked it and can push the video to more people. And if you want to see how these projects knit up and how I do with my curriculum, my autumn projects, please click subscribe so that you don't miss my future videos. Thank you for watching. Have a great day and I will see you in my next video.